Okay, before I get started, I will say that I'm doing this pretty off rip. Obviously I've tried to do this before, but it was unsuccessful, unsurprisingly. So if it doesn't work by just going off the top of my head, then I will try and do a script, obviously. However, if this suffices, then there you go. What more do you need, mate? Okay. Let's have a think about the sacrament of confirmation. Now, very often, someone will be in the sacrament of confirmation or chrismation, depending on whether or not you're east or west. This is usually the time where you will receive a patron saint, where you'll choose someone from the great cloud of witnesses to sort of watch over you and give you a hand, and and I think very few people sort of have a good idea of what this is and what it entails. And I am not claiming to be some sort of authority here. I just want to preface, whilst quite a lot of what I'm about to say and quite a lot of my opinions have been founded in the catechism and church tradition and the fathers and all that sort of stuff. A lot of it is just conjecture and stuff that I think makes sense. Right, I just want to say this. It is my opinion that you are not the one, if you're discerning what kind of saint and all this stuff, and you're really worried about choosing the right one and da-da-da-da, you don't have anything to worry about. Okay? That's thing number one. Because it is my experience that it is not you, myself, or whoever who chooses their patron saint, but in fact it is the saint that chooses you. So I'm going to share with you my personal experience with the catechesis and prayer and thought and everything that came with my confirmation. So how I came to St. Felix to be my patron saint. So at my parish, where it personally was, because I sort of grew up Catholic, obviously. At my parish, you had to go for a class, right? So this was all a bunch of kids my age, and there was one bloke in there, but he did it on his own and all this sort of stuff. And it was pretty much just making sure it's catechesis, and at the end of this, we had to choose a saint who we thought, I like this guy, or I like this woman, and therefore I would like them to be watching over me. So my personal process of doing this, which is not one I recommend for the record, even though it did work out for me, was to choose a saint based on a secular enjoyment of mine, okay? So I do have obviously I've got my little area here, I do have an icon of him which I wrote myself, but it's in storage at the minute, I'm in between, don't worry about it. So I chose St. Felix as mine because he just so happens to share the name with Felix Arvid Ulf Schellberg, also known as PewDiePie, who is someone who I did enjoy at the time, and someone who I still enjoy. And obviously this is not a good method of choosing your patron saint. And so I could have gone through any number of the Felixes. There were 3 Pope Felixes, I think. St. Felix of Nola. There's the Felix who is in the high altar at the church that I can't remember the name of, but I believe it's in the Diocese of East Anglia, as they're the ones who sent me the location. Wrong St. Felix for me, though. My pick was Felix of Burgundy, who is known as the Apostle to the East Anglians, and he ended up converting that kingdom of the English. And I had no idea about any of this. Obviously, I did like the bare minimum research, I looked at Wikipedia, I did the bare minimum, right? And I literally just copy-pasted that onto a PowerPoint slide, stuck a picture of him that's in, I believe it's in Norwich Cathedral, the Anglican one. And yeah, that's about all I did, and I sat on that for a couple of years, and I thought, who is this St. Felix? Because, I sort of chose him for a bit rubbish reasons. I mean, my cousin chose St. Fabiola, who is the patron saint of prostitutes, even though that is not her profession, thank God. And my other cousins have chosen other ridiculous names, What are you going to do? I wanted to be St. Adolf as a joke, because I thought it was funny at the time, and thank God my dad said no. So St. Felix it was, and I looked into him, and it turns out, I've learned all these things about him, like being the apostle to the East Anglians, converting an entire kingdom in 17 years, learning about, how many people coveted his relics. There was a whole chase through the fens and stuff about this, and his episcopal line is still going strong through the Anglican Diocese of Norwich, but no one knows where his relics are. I think I do. I think they're at Ramsey Abbey, but all of the authorities whom I've contacted don't want to do anything about it, but whatever. So basically, what I'm trying to say, I know I'm rambling, is I chose my saint for all the wrong reasons, and still, I feel protected, and I pray often in the direction of St. Felix. For all my Protestant friends, that just means I ask him to pray for me to God. Yeah, so don't worry about it. No matter who you choose, if it be for a really awful reason, like me, or if you actually put thought into it, just don't worry about it too much. This is for adults who are coming into the church at Easter or whatever. I know that's just passed as of the time of recording this video. But for adults who are coming into the church and who are choosing their patron saints, this is for Orthodox people who are going into their, chrismation and their baptism, all that, because I know they do it all at the same time. And it's obviously for my Catholic friends as well, and even Protestants. Doesn't help to have a saint on your side, So, there's a lot of great saints out there, and they might appear in completely inconspicuous places, such as mine. So, yeah, that's just really, the message is, don't stress too much, and, yeah, have a nice day, I guess.